Ever notice how you come across somebody once in a while you shouldn't have messed with? That's me.
I am not an African American.
You're Oreo cookie, white in the inside and black on the outside.
I don't have an afro, I have an Amerifro.
Talking that idiotic stuff you talk about, I will slap you.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Black as the ace of spades, but 100% American.
Heard around the world by everybody and their mama. The Jesse Lee Peterson Radio Show.
Uniting the races with truth instead of dividing them with lies. We also rebuilding the family by rebuilding the man. I am Jesse Lee Peterson. Welcome to the second hour of the show already. It is Country and Western Day. It's Tuesday. Barack Hussein Obama. Patrick Roon is coming up in the third hour, the next hour, behind the headlines. One of the smartest white men on this side of heaven. Another smart man, brave man, is with me, and it's an honor to have him. Sheriff David Clarke, Jr., Milwaukee County Sheriff, is with me. And I saw the sheriff on CNN taking on Piers Morgan, and Lord have mercy, it was good. Sheriff Clarke, welcome to the show, sir.
Jesse, how are you? It's a privilege and an honor.
Thank you, sir. It's the same here for me to you. I really appreciate you being here. I got to ask you this before I go into this soundbite and the Second Amendment issue. Where did you get such courage from in today's America?
Well, from a very loving mother and father who raised me. They were of meager means, but they took their 5 kids, did the best they could, and they always taught us, to stand up for ourselves, to not let somebody else define who we were and what we should believe in, and how to vote and all that other nonsense. And I think, and I'm blessed to have had 2 loving parents, and I've kind of taken that upbringing and carried it on throughout my career in law enforcement. 35 years in Milwaukee County, 24 with the City of Milwaukee Police, and now 10 as the sheriff.
I listening to you speak, I realized, I have realized this for a long time, the primary reason for weakness in America today is due to the destruction of the family. If you don't have that father and mother there setting an example of love and strength and dealing with life, you're likely not to know how to do it yourself.
There's no doubt about that. The Great War on Poverty, as it was termed, the program from the 60s, turned out to be a war declared on the black family. It destroyed relationships. It was a disincentive for marriage. It rewarded negative and unacceptable behavior and encouraged black men and women to stay apart because, of course, if you were on some sort of government program and the government found out that father was in the home or that you did decide to get married, that you were punished. So that's the disincentive that I'm talking about. It's been going on for quite some time, and it's enough. It should bring tears to the eyes of a brass monkey. And just to be quite honest with you, I think it's sick.
It is. I grew up in Alabama on a plantation. We didn't have government and all that kind of stuff going on. We worked hard. We had to take care of ourselves. My grandparents were around and my parents. And I went up to Indiana to visit, and that's when I saw, and I was a young person, didn't quite understand what was going on at the time, but I still found it surprising that the government had come, was there under Lyndon B. Johnson, and whenever the social worker would come around to make sure a man wasn't in the house, or that the mother didn't have a husband, even if she had a husband, I remember the husband hiding from the social worker. They wouldn't show up for a while to their own homes. And I thought that was amazing that the father would give up his family to the government like that.
Well, you know yourself, Jesse, that government dependency enslaves people. It always has. And to be truly free in America, what we've come through as a people. We've survived slavery. We've survived Jim Crow, and we survived episodic instances of racism That's why I say it's episodic. But the fact is, to be truly free in America, you have to be self-reliant. You have to be self-sufficient. You have to be self-sustaining. That's the way my parents did it, and they didn't write the book on it, but they followed that model, and they got that from previous generations, their mothers and fathers. My dad's mom and father were married for a very long time until my grandfather died, and the same with my parents on my mom's side. So we all know, and everybody knows, that the foundation of any successful child is really going to be a strong family structure, a support structure in place to guide, to love, to teach. And that's been taken away, and now it's been turned over to the government. And I kind of see some of that, which was in part my impetus for the public safety ad that I put out in terms of people being self-reliant, self-sufficient in times when the government, that being the police, are not, just down the street.
Yeah.
So, I fully expected the blowback that I got from statists, from people who believe in government dependency at all levels and discourage people for doing for self. But the fact is that government can't provide everything in life, and I believe that when a person learns to stand on their own 2 feet, and sure, you're going to fall, and sure, you're going to fail, but that's part of the process. That provides you the experience to make different decisions later on, to make better decisions later on, not somebody holding your hand. I mean, it's like trying to learn to ride a bike, and whoever's teaching you, your mom, your dad, your brother or sister, they hold the bike and they never let you go. You're pedaling. I mean, you know how that is, right?
Right.
And you think you're doing it, and then as soon as they let you go, you panic. But that's kind of what it's like. The government doesn't want to let you go and pedal on your own.
I remember as you were speaking, I'm reminded of, we had this big oak tree in our yard down in Alabama, and as a little boy, I used to always try to climb that tree, and my grandmother said, "Boy, you keep climbing that tree, you're going to bust your head open." And one day I went way up the tree, and I fell out of the tree and hit my head, and I was crying. And my grandmother said, "Boy, I told you to stay out of that tree. Now you've learned your lesson." But she didn't coddle me. She didn't baby me. She was just straight up with me about it. But from that day forward, I learned to climb that tree and not fall out anymore.
Sure. And as you know, she first made sure that you weren't seriously injured, and then
right,
like she said, and like we all know, you learned a lesson. And she first tried to teach you by telling.
Yeah.
And then she had to let you experience, or she didn't let you experience, but you had to experience it for yourself.
Yep.
And then when it happened, you said, "Now I know what she's talking about," and that sort of model works all throughout life.
It does. I want to play this ad that you're under fire about. We're coming to a break. I'll play it when we come back from the break. Let me just ask this. So when you recorded this ad, you knew what to expect as a result of it, right, in advance?
Without a doubt. But the only thing that I didn't expect was that it would get nationwide attention. But I knew in the Milwaukee area here, very highly liberal area, like I said, government dependent, that I was going to face some blowback because my message resonates with people who want to be self-sufficient, self-reliant, and the left put on a full court press, an assault to first kill the message and then try to kill the messenger so that it wouldn't resonate and sink in.
It's amazing how that is, Sheriff. Any man or woman now who stands up for the truth and just speak it and do it or live it, the first thing they want to do is shut you down, just cut you off right away. When I come back, we'll play this ad and I get your response to it. 888-775-3773. Sheriff David Clarke Jr. is with me. Back in a moment.
I have a tendency to pay more attention to the things that I need. Sometimes I drink too.
Mel, good morning.
Peterson.
Welcome to the show.
Now, your correct name is you are a Negro.
Mel, watch your blood pressure.
You hate your own color. You follow the white man. You know how the old slavery days. You love to see the white man bring out his chain.
You are going to burn, man.
Burn where?
You are going to hell?
You are deceiving people. Don't deceive nobody no more.
Israel is in Africa.
No, it's not,
Where is it
Maze.
if it's not in Africa? Where is it?
Maze, stop it.
Where's it in?
Stop it.
Where is it, Jesse?
Stop
if it's not in
it.
Africa?
Find out what all the fuss is about. The Jesse Lee Peterson radio show streaming live Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to noon Eastern, 6 to 9 a.m. Pacific at www.bondaction.org. That's bondaction.org. Heard around the world by everybody and their mama.
And I go back to a two-tone short bed Chevy, driving my first love out to the levee, living life with no sense of time. And I go back to the feel of a 50-yard line, a blanket, a girl, some raspberry wine, wishing time would stop.
Sheriff David Clarke Jr. is with me, and it's an honor to have him here. Brave man, a real American. And he is under fire for an ad he made. Here's the ad the sheriff recorded on taking a gun safety class for the folks there in Milwaukee.
With officers laid off and furloughed, simply calling 911 and waiting is no longer your best option. You can beg for mercy from a violent criminal, hide under the bed, or you can fight back. But are you prepared? Consider taking a certified safety course in handling a firearm so you can defend yourself until we get there. You have a duty to protect yourself and your family. We're partners now. Can I count on you?
Sheriff, I saw nothing wrong with that ad. It was encouraging. It was nice to know that the sheriff is looking out for the people, and yet the liberals had a fit about it.
They always do. You know, I couldn't help but listen to some of the calls that were made to you and the insult hurled at you. And, you know, it's that type of plantation politics that's gone on for too long.
Yes.
Gatekeepers try to keep everybody on the plantation, and if somebody dares to be independent and venture out, you know, they're hunted down like a dog and brought back. They're treated like a runaway slave, brought back to the plantation and you know, punished so that they never think of consider thinking independently again. And that's kind of what we're dealing with here. Now, that ad was meant for the people of Milwaukee County, and this was done in the face of even longer response times for Milwaukee police officers, sheriff's deputies to get to calls for service. And this is through no fault of the street officer. This is a lack of support from the political class, Mayor Tom Barrett and County Executive Chris Abley, and then Police Chief Flynn. I mean, listen to this, Jesse. On average, it takes a law enforcement officer nearly 18 minutes to respond to an armed robbery, 51 minutes to a sexual assault,
Wow.
29 minutes, nearly a half hour to a domestic violence call, and an hour and 2 minutes on a reckless use of a weapon. So when I started to see this, and I'm hearing from people in this area and saying, Sheriff, you know, can you do something? And we're you know, Milwaukee police officers have been furloughed 3 days each. They're already dealing with over 200 vacancies. My office had to lay off 48 sheriff's deputies last year. Tom Barrett, Chief Flynn, and Chris Abley have abandoned the people of the Milwaukee area. And you know who suffers the most from this? And it's not a test question. It's our people, Jeff.
Yes.
It's black people.
That's right.
We have to wait longer and longer periods of time for the police to respond. And again, through no fault of the police. So I thought there's two things that happened in the state of Wisconsin over the last year and a half that were game changers as far as I'm concerned. One of them is Castle Doctrine that allows homeowners to use force, including up to deadly force, to protect themselves or their families in the event of an intrusion or break-in. The other is the Personal Protection Act, which we became the 49th state that allows law-abiding people under certain circumstances to apply for a permit so they can carry a concealed weapon. Those people have signaled to me, and the state legislature has signaled to me that this is a new day, that they want people in certain circumstances, I mean, you heard the ad,
Yes.
to be able to defend and protect themselves. That is as fundamental a right as we have in this country. And the fact that the left sees that as, you know, some sort of strange concept, you know, I'm flabbergasted by it. I mean,
But, you know, I don't think they really believe it, Sheriff, because they don't want us to protect ourselves, but they are protected. They have guns. They have bodyguards. They're living behind guarded community, gated community with bodyguards or gate guards, whatever you call it. They are protecting themselves, but for some reason they don't want the regular folks to protect themselves.
Sure. They have the means. They have the tools. And, these two laws have now empowered people. And I believe in empowering people. I want people to make the decisions as to how and when that they'll be able to defend themselves. That's not a decision that I can make. That's not a decision that the chief can make in certain circumstances.
Yes.
And you're right. I mean, the mayor, who has slashed the police budget, walks around with a staff of bodyguards, armed police officers, paid for at taxpayer expense, and he expects the people that live in this city and in this area to just fend for themselves. Now, the one time that he stepped outside that bubble that he lives in, he intervened in some domestic violence situation on the street. An entire iron-wielding suspect turned around and beat him within inches of his life. Amazing. I believe, and I've said this, that had he had a plan and a gun that day, the outcome would have been different. So he found out firsthand what everybody else in this city and this county has to deal with on a daily basis.
Yes, sir.
And even after that, he continues to be insensitive to the plight of people who have to deal with this crime and violence on a daily basis.
Last final break here with the sheriff. I'm going to take this break and come back, and I want you to hear the Piers Morgan interview with the sheriff. Back in a moment.
Don't blink. I was sitting there thinking about her pretty face, kicking myself for not catching her name. I threw my hat and thought, you fool, it could have been love. I knew my old Ford couldn't run her down. She probably didn't like me anyhow, so I watched her.
Sheriff David Clarke Jr. is with me, and he appeared on Piers Morgan's show, CNN, and I love the way the sheriff dealt with Piers. Here is where Piers Morgan said that the sheriff is using a Hollywood voice.
Yeah, I mean, Sheriff, listening to the way that you phrased yourself in that ad, the kind of Hollywood voice you put on, the deep tones, making it all sound terribly exciting and dramatic. It sounded like some kind of John Wayne movie. How on earth does that kind of rhetoric to the American people serve any kind of sensible, rational purpose?
Well, first of all, I object to the Hollywood voice. This is the way I talk. This is my voice, and that ad was recorded at a studio. But let me get back more to your point. First of all, as it relates to the mayor is completely wrong. I'm the top law enforcement agency in Milwaukee County, and we are a full-fledged law enforcement agency, and we respond to everything. But that's not the point, because the citizens could care less what uniform the officer is wearing when, in fact, they call for the police. Now, the mayor submitted a budget this year that furloughs 1,500 police officers 3 days each. That's 4,500 fewer officer hours to be spent patrolling and responding to calls for service. My agency itself, the county, I had to lay off 42 officers last year. On top of that, there is a increasing demand of 911 calls for service that are going unanswered or in a delayed fashion, not through any fault of the street officer, but because of the fact that they don't have the proper amount of resources. Plus, they've been operating.
Let me ask you a question.
An amount of about 200 officers short.
Amazing. You notice, Sheriff Clarke, I noticed that whenever Piers Morgan is losing the discussion, he tried to attack people personally, and you dealt with him very well.
Well, being on with him, and I knew what I was walking into. That was an attack piece, obviously. But I'm not afraid to go anywhere with my message.
Yes.
I don't have to stay in shallow water and safe harbors. If I have something to say, I'm going to go out there and say it. Now, the support that I've gotten for being willing to be a partner with the community in their personal safety, and the support that I've got for having their back has been tremendous. Piers Morgan has no idea whatsoever what's going on the ground here in Milwaukee County.
Right.
So for him to sit up and characterize, it's okay to ask questions and then maybe challenge me on a point here or there, but that was obviously another attempt to first destroy the message when he talks about Hollywood voice and all that. And, that's just distracting people. And then the next his attempt is to kill the messenger.
Yes.
But, again, I'm not afraid to engage in discourse with anybody on any issue. I have the vocabulary for it. I've been doing this stuff, public safety, for 35 years. I think I'm a lot more versed on issues of public safety than Piers Morgan.
According to the Drudge Report, Chicago police will no longer respond immediately to burglaries and car thefts. And Chicago is a neighboring city next to Milwaukee there. I mean, this is exactly why you're saying that the people need to learn gun safety and so that they can protect themselves.
Jesse, that's already occurred in Milwaukee. Milwaukee took the lead. They no longer respond at all to the initial call of a burglar alarm. So we tell people, go out and protect your home and get an alarm and help us out. And then the people went and invested in that, and then they turned around and said, we're not going to respond until there's a confirmed burglary. But, Jesse, as you know, once there's a confirmed burglary, it's too late.
It is.
As it relates to auto theft, and I don't encourage anybody to use deadly force to protect property, but a car to somebody who doesn't have a lot, that's their transportation to work. They get their kids, back and forth to school, so on and so forth. If you only have one car in the family and some thief takes, that is a huge inconvenience for that person. And the recovery rate on those vehicles is very small anyway. So, again, if you call in an auto theft, all they're going to do is take a report over a car and enter it into the system. And if they come across it, they do. And if they don't, they don't. That's the attitude. And that's why I've said these politicians here, Tom Barrett, Chief Ed Flynn, and County Executive Chris Abele, have abandoned the people of the Milwaukee area. Well, I'm going to stand shoulder to shoulder with these people and continue to encourage them that personal safety is an individual responsibility.
That's right.
That they play a role. It's not a passive state. It's an active state. It's very dynamic. And I'm here to let the people in Milwaukee County know that I got their back.
I may know this answer. I'm not sure about it. Can the mayor or anyone fire you?
No, I'm independently elected. I'm a constitutional officer. I report to the state constitution says sheriff's accountable only to the sovereign, the voters of the county. So it's that independence also. Any form of independence the left bristles at. But it's that independence. I don't work for the mayor. I don't work for the county executive. I don't answer to any of those officials. I answer to the voters and the residents of Milwaukee County.
I love
you know what,
it.
Jesse? If they weren't behind me, I wouldn't have been elected and reelected 3 times.
Right on. Is there a website or anything you'd like to give out for the folks?
Sure. Just Google Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office, and that link will get you to our website. And also should be able to get to our Facebook connection from that website as well.
One final question. Are you hearing from any other sheriffs around the country at all?
Not so much. But, again, the way I look at it, each sheriff has to look at what's going on in the environment in the county that he or she is in.
Yes.
And there's different things going on. So what I always say is a sheriff has to make decisions based on what's going on in the theater of operations where he or she is elected to do so. And there's a lot of different things, different environments, different constituencies. So the rule I always operate on is I never stick my nose into another sheriff's business because I don't know what's going on the ground politically there, and I expect other sheriffs to respect that same approach. So I think that's probably why I haven't heard from many of them.
You remind me of Sheriff Arpaio out of Arizona.
Well, I'd like to think I'm a younger version, but I met Joe years ago. I was out in Arizona, and he's a great guy, a personable guy in that I walked in cold. I was a law enforcement officer. I wasn't a sheriff. But I wanted to meet the man. I went up to his office and identified myself with my credentials and said I've always wanted to meet him. You know what? With his busy schedule, and I wasn't on the schedule, he actually made time. He called me into his office. We sat down. We had a chat.
Sheriff Clarke, thank you so much for being with me, sir.